Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of posting content to your D2L and Brightspace online classroom. Let's get into it. So this video is going to focus mostly on the Dropbox tool as well as the discussions tool in relation to posting content. With the Dropbox tool, what this is a file folder for any assignment or worksheet or project that you've assigned to your kids for them to submit to online. That way, it keeps it all organized for you by subject, by student, and it's easier for you to access whenever you need to figure out what's going on. I know some teachers last year had students emailing them their projects, which is fine, but it can be a nightmare logistically for the teacher. Personally, I had some one-offs where students had issues technologically sending stuff to me, so I'd have them email it to me, and then I would add it to the Dropbox folder after, which is fine. So let's take a look. So what we're going to look at first is how to create a Dropbox folder. Now I'm on that blank classroom that I was showing in my last video, which means the only content we currently have is those two that we created with that math worksheet that we added, this comparing fractions worksheet. If you missed this video and you're not sure how we got to here, go back and watch it. It's linked in the page as well. So let's take a look. So we go into Dropbox and currently there's nothing here. So we want to make a new Dropbox folder for students to submit assignments to. So we can click new folder and it brings us to this same start page where it's essentially you can name it and describe it. So I try to name it the same thing as the worksheet so that it's easier for me personally to know what I'm looking at. So we're going to call it comparing fractions because that's the only worksheet we've got so far. You can include instructions as well for the students when they're submitting it, but I usually include my instructions within that same content tab so it's easier to view and easier to keep everything together for them. If you scroll down, you can see that you can add attachments, individual or group assignments. You can select what kind of submission type it is. For this one here, I always leave it on file submission because that gives them the most options as far as being able to type their answer or submit a file as a photo or a document or whatever. All submissions are kept because why not? I wouldn't want to lose something. Here, you can organize your folders into categories. So because we currently have no categories, I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to call it math because I want to keep all my math stuff together. Evaluation and feedback, you can decide what you want this assignment to be out of, if you want to add grades to it or include a rubric. All those options are provided for you there. And then we leave the rest as default. So I'm going to click Save and Close. And now you can see that we've got our math category, as well as this folder down here for students to submit assignments to. Now, once they start actually submitting things to it, this will all start to change. And I'll explain what that looks like in a second. What we're going to do now is link directly to it within our lesson. So what that means is after students have completed this assignment, there's going to be another link in here that they can click that'll take them right to that submission folder for them to just add their file or add the photo or add the whatever it is to that folder. So it's, again, ease of access and it makes it accessible for everyone. So let's take a look. We're going to edit this by clicking those three dots beside the Create New button. And I'm going to put it below where it says click here to access the worksheet. So if we remember our Insert Stuff button, beside it there's the lightning bolt. Now what this lightning bolt does, it's a quick link button. So that means you can create links to almost anything on your online classroom and add it to your content tab. So in this case, I directly want to link to a Dropbox folder. So I find Dropbox, and I've only got the current folder that we just made, so it's easy to find. It's right there. You can also create from here if you'd like. I tend to make them in advance because that's just the way my brain works. And I click that, and you can see it's already just added the link, and it's the same name as the Dropbox folder. Now, if you want to change this, you can just backspace it and call it whatever you want. Comparing fractions, Dropbox. If you notice that the typing is black or gray all of a sudden, then it's not quite working. So you just want to backspace, press the left arrow key until you're back over it, and then come back, and now you can type. So I've got that linked in there. I do the same thing where I say click here to submit, and I draw the arrow. So now if we hit save and we can test it, so click here to submit, they would click this link and it takes them right to the Dropbox. Now, this is your view of the Dropbox, which differs from the student view. Your view, you would see what's been submitted, whereas the students are provided tools to either attach a document or type in comments if it's something you can type out as well. I personally had students take pictures of their assignments and send it, because that way, if they didn't have a printer, they wouldn't need to print anything out. They can just write it on a separate sheet of paper and take a photo and submit that to me, and I'd look at that. I'm going to go to my classroom from this past year because I want you to see what it looks like once stuff is being submitted. So here's all my Dropboxes. There's a lot. Some I've categorized just to show you. So from French through to math, through to writing and social studies are all in categories, and I left these uncategorized. This here is fine. I just find this a little bit more chaotic than having it in categories. So once students start submitting stuff, you get a new submissions column where numbers are in there, and you can click those numbers and it takes you right to the page where the student has submitted that new thing to be evaluated. It also tells you how many you've already evaluated and how many you've published feedback for. So let's click one. And you can see here's the student's file that he submitted, which is a picture because this is a freestyle drawing assignment. And from here on the right, I can provide feedback in a typed form. Great job. I can also add a file if I'd like to, or more importantly, record audio or video within the feedback. So those would be important for students that have difficulty reading, or if they're hard of hearing, you can upload a video of sign language or pictures or whatever. I personally use the record audio function the most of those two, and I used it every now and then. I didn't specifically use it for the kids that struggled with their reading because anybody can listen to the audio, and it made it more normal, so it wasn't weird if you got a recording of me speaking. And once you've got that all kind of done, you can hit publish, and now it's available for the student to see on their end. They can also resubmit stuff and go from there based on your feedback. So that's essentially the basics. There is also a way within the file that you can draw directly onto the document. D2L's and Brightspace's pen tool is not great. If I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably like a 4. It's kind of choppy and it tries to guess what you're doing, and it just doesn't. It's not a great experience. Now, I don't know if that's something I'm doing personally wrong. If there's someone who's had a great experience with it, please let me know, and maybe I can look into it a bit more. But essentially, that's what the Dropbox is for. So moving on, the other tool that I used a lot is this discussions tool. So what this is it's a forum for students to have discussions with each other, with you, based on a discussion question that you've posed. So I use this for a class read. I would upload videos of me reading the chapters, which I would challenge students to read on their own if they could. If not, they can just listen to me reading it. And I would pose a few discussion questions throughout the reading and leave those here for students to respond to. So you can see that the threads have been created, which means I've been given 4 different student answers, and there's been 6 posts within those threads. So that's the 4 that the students have posted, including 2 replies to any of the threads, which is great because that allows you to respond to answers that students have posed to your question, and it also gives students chances to create discussion between each other. Now, that didn't happen very much with me, and mostly because I didn't try to emphasize it as much. It was more so, what do you think about this question? Then I would respond to them, and we would have a discussion between the 2 of us. I think next year, if I could build up on this, I would have the students discussing with each other as well, and then me just kind of help facilitating that discussion. So with these, I never really created it in here. If I go back to my content tab on my grade 4 classroom, so if I go back to my grade 4 class, you'll notice that there is no discussion tool here. It's not one of the ones built in by default. You can add it. If you're unsure how to do that, go visit the first video that I made as a part of this lesson that explains how to edit the navigation bar. For right now, we're going to take a look at the grade 5 classroom, which already has the discussions tab in there. So to link to it, I'll show you how I did it. So counting by 7s, let's look at chapter 29. So you can see I've got my video. Here's me in the corner with my goofy headphones on reading to the students, with the reading of the book in the middle. And I pose my question here. So it says, why does Gyro believe Willow is a sort of angel sent his way? In what ways is his life made better because of her? And you can see I've done the same sort of thing where I say submit your answer here. So if students click this link, it takes them directly to this Dropbox where they can start a new thread or reply to other threads that are already here. So this way there's a discussion being created around this topic. Now to do that, I'll show you how I did it. So if I click this edit tool again, similar to inserting the Dropbox link, you can quick link to a discussion. So if I click discussions, now I've got two different threads. Usually it would just be the one. And within here, I've got all my ones that I've previously made, but you're also given the chance to create a new discussion topic, which is great. So I'll click that. Example, discussion topic for video. And in the description, you can include the discussion question again, which I usually did. If you don't want to do that, you can just click create an insert. And it creates that link again that directly links to that discussion topic. Now, what's weird about the discussions, this is important. If you're planning on using them, for whatever reason, changes you made may not be saved, that's fine. For whatever reason, when you post a new discussion thread or topic, it always comes out as hidden. So what you have to do after you've posted it is go into your discussions tool, find that new thread that you created, that new discussions folder that you created, and click the little arrow and click make visible to users. I don't know why by default it does that, but that's just the reality of the situation. You can also create your discussions from here as well if you click new and click new forum and have it that way and then link to it later in the content. So this is a powerful tool when you want to have that discussion-centered learning happening and have students kind of interacting with each other and passing ideas to each other. But otherwise, the discussions tool and the Dropbox tool work hand in hand with the content tool, and you can provide everything within one folder. So you'll see here, I've got this is fractions 5 ordering fractions, so comparing them and going from biggest to smallest. And I provided the grade 5 worksheet, which I've uploaded the document, and I've also provided a Dropbox folder for them to submit to. On the other side, the discussion side, I've got my video lesson as well as questions and the discussion topic here. So you're keeping everything together for them. So your students that are on iPads and cell phones have access to it all from a single content tab. So they're not constantly bouncing back and forth between different tools on a clunky website. Otherwise, that concludes this video. Next lesson, we're going to be talking about how to differentiate content as well as release conditions, which is part of that same sort of idea. Otherwise, if you're done, great. Tune in next time. Make sure to give the page a like to stay tuned if any other videos are upcoming. Subscribe on YouTube if that's where you're seeing these. And I'll see you soon.